Yes, this is John from All Points TV, and All Points TV aims to try to get as many opinions and input from everybody we can. And so, if you, by the way, if you do want to contact us, you can. I'll give you the information later how to contact us. So you can maybe come in and do a show with us or do a call in as Darwin, our guest today, is doing. Darwin, welcome to the show.
How are you doing, sir? It's been a minute. I absolutely appreciate every time we get a chance to dialect and talk and go over things.
So as the scroller says too, because I don't know if Darwin can see it on his end. The scroller says is Darwin is a native of Flint, and he possesses an MBA degree, and he has some insight that a lot of people who are not connected to the economic and financial world might not have. So we'll go on. That's going to be the base of our conversation largely, but we'll always go off from there. So anyway, Darwin, the other day we were talking, and you had mentioned that you think that maybe Flint might be missing out on some opportunities. So we'll go into there. How's that?
Absolutely. Well, let's just start with Karen Weaver, current mayor. I currently, the first time around, helped endorse her and helped push and for good reason and on good faith to get her elected. And so I've seen a recent report not too long ago that stated there was around 200 million, I think, in investments that had come into the city. And although that may sound good on the surface, but for people who are actually from the city, grew up there, and actually even been out and spent some time outside of the city, have been in different places, different economic, social and economic environments, they come to realize that $200 million actually, even from a statistical basis for that area, as long as it's been deprived and depressed, has not really been a significant investment. However, it's significant, nevertheless, to say the least, for the city of Flint. But there needs to be, on a larger scale, I did some pretty brief surveying and some different studying, research, and estimations myself. And Flint really needs about 2.2 to probably about 4 billion in actual investments. If you look at Detroit, which really doesn't really compare with Flint for a lot of different reasons, we can do a show on that another day. But Flint, Detroit has probably about, I think we had individuals who committed around, I believe, anywhere between 4 to 9 million, somewhere around there, at least 5 to 10 billion, excuse me, not million, but around that. So they have significant more investment from different individuals, several billionaires that have come in with different industries and different economic bases. So again, Detroit has anywhere between 3 to 4 billion in investments, and I think the largest I heard is somewhere around 9 or 10. But Flint needs about 2.2 to probably about 3 or 4 billion in order to really significantly see a change in Flint. I mean, if you really want to redo Flint, it needs about 4 billion probably in investments, and that's even on a more conservative end. I mean, Flint needs again at a minimum of 2.2. And a lot of these things can be brought in through Rivian. I think it's just a future rebirthing of the automotive industry. And these are just different things that I don't know if our current administration have really talked about in the media. I heard a lot of different things with Tesla, different things of that nature, but I hadn't heard anything about Rivian, which has had significant investors and investment from the big three automotive companies. Ford just recently came on around 500 million in investments and just different things. And so when you look at how Flint has also the academic engineering base for the automotive industry and suppliers and so many other industries, we have Kettering University there. We have the University of Flint. Sad to hear Baker College are transferring and getting out, but we are a hub there for innovation. So I haven't heard anybody talk about this and bring this up. Here we have the rebirthing of the automotive industry. You have Amazon and conglomerates with the automotive traditional top three, and you haven't heard anything about Flint. So I think this is a huge area to try to capitalize on, again, on the minimum of the 2.2 to 4 billion. I think that Flint actually needs for investment to really significantly change the city. And that is in comparison to Detroit, which, again, has anywhere between 4 to 10 billion as far as in investment. So these are just the kind of, touch on a few of these things. And again, being that I do have an MBA, I have a passion for this. I study economics and business, as a passion, but I've also technically, studied this as well. So these are just a few topics and few points that, I just briefly want to touch on.
No, I think those are very good ones. See, I'm looking around, and I see that sporadically, I see people, I see work crews working on the water lines. And currently also consumers is putting new gas lines in the area where the studio is at. And I was told right by one of the workers, one of the workers told me that a large portion of that has been funded by taxpayer funds. So a large portion of that along with the Corporation of Consumers Energy. But that's promising right there. I mean, by itself, that's a good thing to do because it's an aging infrastructure, and we've had a lot of problems with gas leaks in the area, and there could be devastating or destructive wise. I mean, because we had a couple of buildings blow up in the past few years around here because of the gas leaks, and that's good. That's promising. But I think when we're looking at something like the automotive industry, I think people would just be more comfortable with that development coming on, like electric cars we're talking about, basically, or vehicles that are run by batteries or whatever. I think even that, though, would still be more comforting and comfortable for the residents because it just seems they gravitate towards the automotive industry. And regardless if it's an internal combustion engine or electrical. And I think we do have, like you were saying, Stacey, I think that we do have a great deal of support and possibly for development here because of the educational institutions that are located here already. How much do you think of the billions that you think that would actually be needed? Would that be actually just for development of those businesses, or would any of that go towards the infrastructure that's needed in replacing that?
Well, the type of conglomerate, it would be more of a conglomerate of partnerships when you talk about this type of level of investment across, a municipality, across, academic centers and different things of that nature. And that include private and national, even international investments. So with that being said, when I look at, of course, America operates on a cyclical type of economy. It goes up, it goes down. Clearly, we know the down aspect of Flint, but we don't talk about the upside that much. We don't talk about what is it really going to take. And honestly, I've studied and I've studied in different places. I just came back from Israel and Jerusalem. I've seen a lot, and I pay attention to places like Israel, that's considered the most innovative hub in the Middle East and even in the world. And where I come from, it to me has also been a place and a pillar of innovation. Again, being most engineers were trained right out of Flint. Whether you go all the way back to General Motors Institute or University or GMI or or the current Kettering University, most came out of whether it's software and all type of other robotic engineerings and just all different type of industries. Most were educated right from Flint, Michigan. And what you got to understand is, yes, the automotive industry shouldn't, in its traditional aspect, be looked to as, the next promise, or is this going to come back and provide the jobs, the housing, the quality of living we used to have? And I understand that. I live that. My grandfather worked 40 years at General Motors, so I understand that. But what you got to understand is, again, American economies, they're cyclical. They go up, they go down, and so what you got to understand with Amazon's investment in Rivian, amongst the other top three traditional automotive partners. There is a resurgence. There's the potential of the rebirthing of the complete automotive industry. These trucks work out. If these initiatives work out, this is only going to span into every other area of the automotive industry. And all I'm saying, you can't wait for that to happen if you don't already have people that are on the ground that are sensitive enough to the economic and political and also the business environment to say, hey, we have to take the initiative to try to present ourselves and make even a proposal to bring those different initiatives to Flint. From what I understand, they could be going directly to Detroit. When we understand Flint's pioneering in the automotive industry, and we could clearly, if there's a rebirthing of the automotive industry, we could be left behind simply by not having the leadership that I believe are more so competent and have the initiative, the leadership initiative to step up. And I'm not saying that Karen Weaver doesn't. I'm just saying that I haven't heard it, I haven't seen this, but we need to step up. We need to be the first people to say, hey, there's a new partnership with Rivian, and you're doing electric trucks, And these are the type of things that they're promoting. And what I'm saying, we have not seen and heard this. Flint had a report that said around $200 million it got in investment. That's not even a drop in the bucket for Flint. As long as we've been the pride, you're talking about barely downtown Flint. So what you got to understand in certain other corridors, but what you got to understand, we need about 2.2 to 4 billion in investments for Flint to transform Flint to see a true makeover. We need about 2.2 at a minimum $billion to see that. 200 million isn't going to cut it. And not only that, but again, when you compare it to Detroit has anywhere between 4 to 10 billion. You clearly see the difference in how it's able to spill over in other areas and support industries. When you talk about billions of dollars, you're talking about industry. If you're talking under, 100 million, something, you're not necessarily talking about, even though that helps, that's significant, but it definitely isn't. It isn't completely what is going to make the real impact. And we're talking about real industry. So from the academic side of the engineering and training engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, robotic engineers, all different types of individuals, the vendors that could come from that. There's so many different lines of revenue that could come from this type of initiative that will agree to have at least a headquarters in Flint or to have some type of significant operations in Flint. And that's in addition to Lear. So we need to have more of talks and leadership that's going to reach out to this particular group of investors in these particular joint ventures and joint venture startups to say, hey, we want to be a part of that. Anything in the automotive industry, Flint should be a part of it and be the center of it.
I agree there because, it seems like, Detroit and Flint were like the pioneers in the automotive industry. And I'd hate to see that lose that mantle to anybody. We have largely, but I'd like to see us kind of bring that back.
And it could easily happen. It could easily happen, John, simply because again, this interview is about Flint. It's not Detroit. But at the same time, if we don't step up and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, then Flint could easily be swept aside and even stripped of our historical significance in the automotive industry, especially if there's a rebirthing in a new technological phase of things that we don't allow to start and originate from Flint. We have to continue that. So this is why this interview is so important to me, is because we have to fight for that legacy. We can't just sit up and say, hey, we're just going to sit back and let these things happen. So we need to really step up, and we need to have Mayor Karen Weaver and whoever's in charge of our economic development go out to Rivian and really make sure that we step up and make the proposal and initiative and make the contacts to bring the right players to the table and say, hey, we need to be significant and a significant part in this, especially on the development and research side, because, again, Kettering University is probably already funding or already producing and developing and making the engineers for this already, the software and so many other things that they, that they already need to make this work in so many aspects. And, in fact, I even read another report that said most engineers are far as just in the world, how many engineers that actually work for the top three that are right just within Michigan or within Metro Detroit. So we need to capitalize on that.
Yeah, we do have the advantage. I don't see how that can be overlooked. We do have the advantage, not only the legacy and the connections, but we also still, like Kettering still, has students. And it's still, a lot of these people are going to go somewhere with their degree, and why not retain them here and to have them get roots established here, because that prevents a total erosion of what we've seen already from the 80s. I've seen Buick City close up and destroyed. I've seen AC on the other side of my house destroyed. So it would be definitely a kind of a real shot in the arm to see that kind of role, that kind of a continuation of erosion reversed, because I was going to say though, how would you encourage Karen Weaver to do this? Do you think that she has the people around her that can actually approach to see if they can draw these people in? Or do you think she might have to bring in outside talent for that?
This is what you have to understand. For one, she has we're all from the same. Remember, Karen Weaver is not someone that's just a politician. This is family. My grandmother, who lived, rest in peace, to 100 years old, my grandmother Winfrey, and of course Charles Winfrey is my uncle, who, from what I hear, is making a bid to run for mayor in Flint, and also has been a campaign pretty much advisor and the anchor for the whole Karen Weaver administration and initiative, and that includes all the way back to Woodrow Stanley. She's family. So, for one, I know she has a good PR team. It seems that they've done a pretty good job, even though I would like to see her less in media and more in the community and more with the business community, because it's just we don't need publicity. Publicity alone doesn't convert into dollars. It doesn't convert into industry. It doesn't convert into the things that are going to strengthen our families and our institutions and other things of that nature. So I would like to see her just be more impactful and focused and not deal with all the other petty stuff. This isn't just Facebook. This isn't just media interviews. We're discussing sensitive topics that can interfere with different economic developments. So for me, I would like to see her team pick this, whether it's this interview or whatever, and really consider, have they even reached out to Rivian at any time?
Yeah,
are they even aware of it? Are they even aware that these operations are taking place in other parts of the state, and yet they're not touching Flint? They're not announcing any big operations in Flint. And you're talking about the rebirth of the automotive industry. This isn't just an initiative or a joint venture. No, this works out. They're going to reform the complete auto industry, period. And if we don't have our hand, this is probably the most important initiative they should be working on outside of getting pipes fixed in Flint for the residents. This is very much important, because how much economic development you think or revenue could come in that could fix the type of money that would come in from this type of partnership, if it's done correctly, could redo whatever we needed for Flint, for future generations to come, and bring back much of the prosperity and much of the posterity and many other things that the city lost. But again, this isn't a long shot. This is possible. This is doable if they're willing to step up. And of course, it could mean talking to different consultants. But she has enough contacts, and she knows enough people to reach out to the right people to help her talk to whoever is in charge of Rivian and seeing and developing different things. I would be on top of it 100%. Tesla, I don't believe, is going to have the type of backing that you see with Rivian. This isn't just an Amazon thing. All three of the automotive industry, they have already got on board. So now you have one car company versus three of the traditional, or at least two that I know that's on count, and you have Amazon. It's total different total different statistics, different odds, different. It's just a whole different playing ground.
Now, what would you want people who are listening into our discussion here? What would you want them to? Would you want them to maybe try to go to their city council meeting or go to see the mayor and encourage her to seek out maybe a connection for the Rivian and bring that kind of money in here? Or?
Absolutely, and not only that, but just research what's going on, and then wonder how hasn't the dots been connected, or T's been crossed, dots, how hasn't things been connected to bring in these type of people to talk at the table? We're not talking about just one automotive company that can be transformational, but you're talking about the whole automotive industry here if you get Rivian on board. And again, these partnerships are already being formed in other parts of the state, like Detroit, but they're not in Flint.
Right.
Not that I'm aware of, and that's a big issue for me, because that's my hometown. I love Flint. I love where I come from. So, at the end of the day, I'm for, depositing back into the community and doing everything I can to advocate for the city. And that's regardless of detractors, haters, whatever. I want to stand for the city and to help the leadership to have a better focus, because sometimes I just think there needs to be more focus, whether it's with the city council and all this. Too much politics is involved. And you don't have enough level-headed leaders there that are have the right temperance to deal with the initiatives that needs to take place. And I believe Karen Weaver is an excellent start. She's the best we've had. But at the same time, she can't drop the ball with Rivian. She needs to get them on board. She needs to get the right people to talk to them. And this is something that needs to take place.
See, I'm looking at this article from New York Times on February 9th of 2019, February 15th of 2019, by Neil E. Baudet. And it says Amazon invests in Rivian, a Tesla rival in electric vehicles. And it states here that Rivian is a Michigan company, but in this article I can't find where they say what city it's actually located in. But
Yeah, I think they're out of Detroit.
Okay,
they're out of Detroit. That's where I think they're operating out of, and that's what I'm saying. So here it is. We've allowed this to take place. And again, Flint isn't even anywhere which is an automotive capital. That is where it also the automotive industry originated from as well. So, they need to know the facts. And, again, legacy alone, if you're not willing to fight for it and say, hey, we need to get some of this and we need to have the economic, I would say, stewardship to make sure we can bring these type of deals to the table or even discuss them, we're talking about everything else but this, Rivian, and we need that in Flint.
Yeah, I definitely think that, Rivian's been around for a while, too. According to this article, it was founded in 2009. Well, that's several years ago by an MIT trained engineer, R.J. Scaringe, and that's, 2009. This is 2019. I mean, it's like, why, as soon as this will start developing, where were our leaders, our community leaders at that point? I mean, they should have probably...
at the time, you got to understand, what's critical is Amazon. Once Amazon got on board, once other top two traditional automotive makers got on board, that's when Rivian really got its wings and got its thrust and got everything else. They just had the technology, from what I'm understanding, and they helped bring the other dollars, the other innovation, whatever else they needed to bring the right people. It's all about partnerships. So even when it was back then, I'm not sure if it was to the degree that it is now. Now is the time to get in. We can't be left behind on this project, and that's something that we have to understand. Rivian should be dealing with Flint. The leaders should be talking to them, and we should be trying to develop a hub here, to have a serious, massive operation here, to have massive industry here, developing partnerships through Kettering University. I'm sure Kettering is a rival of MIT, but hey, we're representing Flint, and we need to defend Flint. We need to protect Flint, and we need to do everything we can to work through whatever we have to work through.
Now, this is, what I'm reading this article that there was a $700 million investment on behalf of Amazon, which is considerable. I mean, that's considerable. And also, this is
no, but look, that's probably then. By now, it's probably well more into that. You're talking about at least, again, a $3-4 billion investment from multiple companies right now. So that's in an initiative. So just imagine, it's probably way more than that now. I don't even know if the recent numbers have come out with Rivian and how much money they've collected, and really where they are as of recent. I'm not sure. If it is, I guarantee those numbers will be much higher.
Now, have you ever talked to anybody from the company Rivian? Have you ever got a chance to discuss anything with any of these people, or?
Well, the thing is, I follow, again, through more of the stock investment type of aspect. So a lot of the things that I do is more private, personally. But outside of that, I would urge the city leaders to do that. I think that's their job. That's what they should be doing. If they want to bring investments to a deprived area concerning automotive industry, and this is potentially going to rebirth the whole industry, why isn't Flint at the table? Why are they not there to discuss this? That's what's most important.
Yeah, this article, by the way, I'm going to see if I can find a way of including it, in the description box of our discussion here when I put it up on YouTube. But there's this Rivian also raised $500 million from a Japanese conglomerate known for its tire division. $500 million on top of the investment done by Amazon. That's quite a considerable amount of money you're talking. I think you're right, though. I think it's possibly maybe the billions, soon. And maybe, because this is 2019, but it's February of 2019, this article came out. So,
that doesn't even include the most recent up numbers from Ford. Right. Ford just came in with over $500 million investment into Rivian as well.
So that's really impressive. Now, do you think, I don't know, maybe this is kind of a little bit of a digression from our conversation. Do you think Tesla is going to be losing steam because there's some been negative press about Elon Musk and stuff like that? Do you think that's going to really hurt the company, or?
I really don't want to make this interview turn in that direction because I don't believe it is meant for that. And so I just really think, the focus just needs to be stuck to Flint and getting the right partnerships together to be involved in Rivian. If there's competition, I'm for freedom of market and for free market enterprises to compete. So if that happens, and that'll probably be nothing but good for the people, good for America. But at the end of the day, we need Flint on board. Where are they talking with Rivian? I think that's what's most important.
Now, how much would you want to see the federal government involved in bringing money in, or would you want to largely drawn from private investors and private corporations?
I mean, again, I'm for limited government, but this is not about my personal political beliefs. I just want to see the right partnerships in Flint increase, and I think Rivian, being that they have the potential to rebirth the entire automotive industry, Flint should be on board, and they should have capital there. They should have investments and really plans to have a mega headquarters. I don't care if it's a twin headquarters. I don't care if it's a huge, operational site. We need that in Flint. That's in partnership with the academic centers, Kettering University, and also the municipal government there to help and do everything that they can to facilitate the proper care and protection of free market enterprise. So that's what I'm looking for from the city of Flint as far as concerning the government.
Now, like somebody hearing this, like a lot of times you'll have people saying, well, you sound good, you sound like you're addressing this, but if you were called upon to actually have a role in this, would you be willing to do that? To have a role in this?
Oh, absolutely. That's no problem. But again, this is something, like I said, I researched this on my personal time. These are just things that I'm into, that I pay attention to, because Flint is my hometown. And I want actually that partnership to succeed, as I want Tesla to succeed. I want everybody to succeed. So with that being said, I just really think that it would be great to get those involved and to move forward. I'm not looking to have a personal connection to this other than bringing awareness to it at all.
Because I got to admit, I haven't heard of this company myself until you brought it to my attention, and I feel chagrined for that, because I do shows about Flint and possibilities for development of Flint, and I feel kind of obligated to say thank you for bringing this to my attention. But anyway, anybody that was hearing this, if they would. You just would like to encourage them, though, maybe, do you think the city council members would actually be able to play a role in this?
As I said before, and there's videos through All Point TV on the YouTube archive, I would say, that basically has videos I've did in the past. And I talked about making sure that we understand that the city council in Flint historically has been very toxic. I do have family members on the city council, Jerry Winfrey, who I hope to see succeed and continues to better the ward I come from, which is the 5th Ward. But overall, I would hope that they would research this as well and try to bring proposals to council and try to do everything that they can to help bring money to Flint. This is the biggest initiative that they've missed. They talked about everything else. This is bigger than Tesla. This is bigger. This is the complete rebirthing of the automotive industry. What place has been more deprived and hit from the depression, the business downtrends of the automotive industry more than Flint? Nobody has. So with that being said, who should take part in the rebirthing of this if they're willing to do the things that's required and step up to the plate? I think Flint has what it takes to do that. We just need to make it happen and be innovative to do that.
Yeah, see, I think that there's probably property nearby Flint or inside of Flint that could be offered up as possible sites for buildings. They could probably, I don't think most people here would have a real issue with them getting to the very low cost or no cost to get those redeveloped. And they are brownfields already. A lot of them are considered brownfields. So,
we need innovative hubs there in Flint to be research and development. We need, as it continues to phase on to become into product production, we can roll it off our own assembly lines in Flint. So we're talking about the rebirthing of the automotive industry in Flint. I keep stressing this because I don't think people really understand. We're not talking about just a property site. You're talking about, if these vehicles come into production and they work, they're going to be sold all over the globe.
That brings money in.
Just like every other vehicle that was ever sold, whether it's General Motors or that, you got to look at that. And we got to pay attention to that.
So money coming into the country is very good to have too, as well as when we spend money buying products from other places. That's kind of a it's unavoidable, but I mean it's always good to have money coming in. That's the life's blood of a city of a nation. So I mean, or cities and nations rather. But anyway,
prosperity is good.
Very good.
Prosperity is good.
Well, see, economic freedom comes freedom. That's one thing that people seem to mix. They kind of push that aside. They just don't see that connection. I don't know why they don't see it, but they do. They fail to see it. So, but anyway, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this interview up? And I do like to thank you for that.
No, like I said, I just really think I hit all the points here during this interview. I really appreciate it. You know that, John, as always, with all points and just moving forward. Again, I hope to see, one day that I can look and say, I read and see, hey, so they've developed the right plans, the right partnerships to bring $2.2 billion in the city for Flint, up to $4 billion. I look forward to seeing that, like I've heard and seen for Detroit, how you have individuals and businessmen come together and they say, hey, we have a partnership now and we're going to be bringing $4 billion between the three of us, and our industries are going to produce up to $10 billion because of other different investors. I want to see that for my city too.
Well, definitely, I share that hope as well. Anyway, thanks again, Darwin, and it's always good talking to you, and I hope to talk to you again very soon, okay?
Absolutely. God bless, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.